agents in the market center, which it's about 40 some agents that's invited to participate once a month in a top 20% mastermind. A lot of times it's just us on Zoom, and we would go over what's keeping them up at night and things like that. And then occasionally we will have a guest and just to talk about your business and then find out what questions they may have of you,
Sure.
okay? So I'm gonna start it off with a few questions, guys. And on Zoom, if you're there at any time, type in the chat. We have Casey here manning the chat for us. So we will get your questions answered. So please join in on that chat, guys. I know a lot of you guys couldn't be here in person, but you're there. Join in on the chat. So first of all, tell everybody who you are.
My name is Sherri Pettus. I've been an agent since 1997, and I work for Keller Williams. Keller Williams works for me.
Woo! I like that. Explain that. Tell me why you say.
Because
Keller
Keller Williams does all this stuff
Mhm.
so that being Sherri Pettus is a little bit easier and way more fun.
I love that. I thought it was gonna, on a side note, I thought it was gonna be because of your, I call it tremendous profit share, because that's always in your mind.
Mhm.
And I know that because you're always referring agents to me. I mean, you refer at least 4 to 6 agents a year here. One sitting in the room today, Rob Louder is in your tree. Before we get into production, a team leader will never miss an opportunity to talk about profit share, just so you guys know, because it's real and it's your gift. Sherri, tell me, what does your profit share look like today?
It's ironically, you asked me that because I just sat on the panel Tuesday.
I saw it.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay.
I'm like, man, I'm bringing her here for production, but she's a beast with profit share. And it's so funny. I felt that because of the number of agents you refer to me, to like, hey, you got to talk to Terrell. You're in that area, you got to talk to Terrell. So go ahead. What is it? Just whatever you want to share about that.
So I have 42 in my downline. 18, I only know these numbers because I looked the other day.
I'm only asking you this because I saw the thing myself.
18 in my first line, and then maybe
I think
10,
you said 10
or
18,
12 in the 13 somewhere in the second, and then the other levels, I have them all the way down to maybe level 4 or level 5.
Wow.
And so not all of them are productive. I am about to start doing a mastermind with people just in my downline.
Wow.
I hired, it took me a while.
Yes.
And I was very selective. I hired an amazing buyer's agent who's in my downline. So
Wow.
he's already had maybe 3 closings. He's only been with me since January. Jamel Washington.
Yeah, I see Jamel on your videos all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he's on his like 6 or 7 transactions since June.
Right.
He just got his license. He's my downline. I'm like,
wow.
I think I like that.
So Sherri, just share one nugget of how do you get, people in your profit share tree? Because you're busy. I mean, you're top agent in your office. You got some heavy with that first quarter.
Yeah.
You have some heavy hitters, like massive teams in your market center. So how do you even have the time to even think about your profit share tree?
When agents call me and ask me about my listings, that's when I have that conversation. Or when agents call me and ask me a question, when I go teach classes, not anytime, as long as our conversation is decent, our interaction. If you ain't got no sense, I'm not gonna really
refer you.
No.
Gotcha.
No. So just in conversation, if an agent calls me, I'm a heavy listing agent. I don't work with buyers. I have a buyer's agent. So when agents call me, especially now is a beautiful time to start having conversations because they call me begging, what can I do to get that listing? And my response is, I tell them what my seller's looking for. And then after I say, you know what you just need to do? And they're like, what? I'm like, you need to come talk to somebody at Keller Williams, become a listing agent. So you got to call me again, begging for one of my listings.
Wow.
And they're like, oh, and we start talking after that conversation. And since this market, I probably sent 5, 6, 7 people to my team leader and assistant team leader just in the last, I would say 6 or 7 months.
Wow.
And it's from having that conversation when they call. And if you are a buyer's agent and you're making that conversation, you're calling a listing agent, whether they're with Keller Williams or not. If they're not with Keller Williams, you could find a way to introduce that conversation. Like, oh my gosh, I see you have all these listings. I can't imagine what you would do if you were at Keller Williams.
Yeah, yeah. Or we'd like to have you on a panel.
There you go.
Like
That's even
that.
better.
But no, seriously, and trust me, guys, this was not by design. It's just that I was gaining into, and I see Sherri stuff all the time anyway. And I saw that on her, and I was like, that's amazing, because it came out to where she's been gifted back over 40 grand. And and I think she said it's roughly around 9, 12 grand, something like that a year. So she's almost what we call 100%. And it's just for giving the name. So don't miss out on that, guys. Seriously. Keller Williams is about to be paying her to be here.
And
to
that
be
money
honest.
just sits in account. I have that $40,000 just sitting there. I ain't touching it.
Wow.
It just
So
sits there.
anyway, all right. So thank you for
You're
sharing
very
that, Sherri. I threw you off guard, but I knew you had no,
Okay.
because I saw the video. But anyway, so let me get into it. You know, she is, what was been your production over, say, the last 12 months? What did you do last year? Just 2020?
Last year I did 15.5 million.
Okay. And what's your goal for this year?
I thought it was 21,
Okay.
right? Because I'm at 8 right now. I've done about 8 million right now. I had a closing yesterday, so a little bit over 8 million.
Wow.
And I talked to my MAPS coach and I'm like, this is what I'm gonna do. She was like, that's not what your goal was. I was like, but I did 15 and a half. So if I do 21, she was like, your goal is 33.
What?
And I was like, say what? She was like,
Say what?
She was like, based on what we've talked about over these last few months, and we do the numbers and this, that, and other. She was like, your goal is 33 million, Sherri. And my goal has increased every year, but I've still worked the same amount of hours. I am still home almost every day by 4 o'clock, 4:30. I don't care if it's raining, sunny, unless I want to go somewhere, or I absolutely have to have a listing appointment and I'm not working weekends unless that's the only day. And they got to be signing them papers and I'm in and out in about 45 minutes.
Wow. So before I get into my next question, tell me about that. How do you manage to only work till 4?
It's so
Do
funny. I don't know.
15 million. Maybe we'll uncover some of that with some of the next question. Man,
I still giggle.
I'm like, shoot, I want to give up my job. Casey, y'all need to be putting the ad out. Another team meeting if I can do that. But no, amazing. And I know that about you already.
Thank you.
So tell me what your organization looked like, because when I met you, you was Sherri Pettus. That's it.
Yeah.
So what does it look like today?
So today it's myself. I have an amazing executive assistant and she's my 7th one. So for those of you who start looking for assistants and you get frustrated, don't give up after the first one or the second one. It took me 7. Granted, I usually have 2 at a time, but Christine, I hired her 2 years ago and she is amazing. She's the only assistant I could walk away, leave my phone, go to Jamaica and leave my phone with her and bounce and don't have to worry about nobody calling me. Then I have my marketing director, who is a 25-year-old graduate from Kennesaw. She has a bachelor's degree in leadership. And the reason why I'm giggling is because she's my daughter and she keeps telling everybody, stop telling people I'm your daughter. Just
my credentials,
right. She was like, just tell them I'm your marketing director.
Right, because
But-
I might need to
But
go
she-
somewhere else later. Like
She has done
love
an
that.
amazing job branding me, y'all. I was at the car dealership the other day, getting myself a car, and a girl walked up to me and she was like, are you Sherri Pettus? I was like, why, yes, I am. And she goes, I follow you on Instagram. I'm like, how did you recognize me? She said, your mask. I have my own branded mask.
Wow.
She was like, I recognize your logo. My daughter did do a badass job of creating a logo for me. And it's on everything I have. Brand yourself. Make your picture the same thing on your Facebook. like my pictures are on my signs, they on my, they are, you see them too, girl, my pictures everywhere. Cause I want them to recognize this face and associate it with real estate.
Yeah, building that ecosystem. I love that, Sherri. Let's talk about your business right now. Would you say, what's your number one, what's your main lead source? Where you getting your listings at?
And I forgot to mention, I do have a buyer's agent side.
Oh, yeah, no, I
got sidetracked.
Yeah.
Two assistants, one buyer's agent.
Yeah.
I should have 3 or 4
What's his
buyer's
name again?
agents.
I like
Jamel.
Yeah, Jamel, because he
Sweet.
compliments you so well. Because you and Jamel just like that, secure like that.
Like you saw
He
that
just
picture
got
where he
it.
was like Superman.
I'm
I was like,
telling
that's a
you,
bad
that-
picture.
It just,
I was like, go do get a cape.
Yeah.
Go get a Superman
Yes,
cape.
I'm telling
He's like,
you.
no.
no, superhero,
I'll try to get
bro.
him. I think I'm gonna buy him a Superman cape.
I love that. I love that. So, but yeah, main lead source.
Main lead source. So for years, it has been expired listings. I started doing expires in 2003, and it is primarily has been up until now my primary source. The year before that, I think I listed like 33 expireds, and then I had some other ones. That has been my main source. Right now, nothing's expiring.
No.
If they're expiring, it's because they can't find what they want and they decided they're gonna keep their house. But you still had that conversation and be that one that keeps sending them things. And then for y'all who know me, I lead generate and talk everywhere I go, everywhere. I just had a closing yesterday. You know why I had that closing? Did any of y'all see that video I posted maybe about a month ago when I was in the bank and I was cashing that big $45,000 check I got? I was sitting in the driver's seat, duh. I was sitting in the drive-through. I capped in one day, y'all, and it was from lead generating, and that check was $45,000. Paid my cap and took that check to the bank. So every time I go somewhere in the drive-through, I will leave my business card and my pens. I have my business cards on the back, have a QR code. My pen has my name. I ordered 2,000 pens. And if you go to Red Lobster, Olive Garden, the Country Club, several restaurants in Henry County, I promise you a server probably is gonna have one of my pens. Well, I guarantee you that bartender is gonna have my pens because that's why I sit at the bar. But we give those out everywhere I go. And so when I'm in the drive-through, every time I go to the bank, McDonald's, wherever, when I finish, I send them back the little font, the little whatever, with my business cards and some pens. So the day when I was cashing that big check, I videotaped it, I put it on the BRN group, and the video was, hey, honey, you see that big check I'm cashing? Do you know anybody needs to buy or sell a house? She said, as a matter of fact, I was looking for your card today. It's so funny you came in. My mom has a house she needs to sell. I closed on that house yesterday. It was like 40 days. Y'all, you just gotta talk about real estate. That was a $7,000 check I got yesterday from having a conversation in the drive-through. It's very easy everywhere you go.
So what is your, and I get that, what is your structure? Because I see you on the mornings, you're in your office and you're smiling and dialing. Are those follow-up calls? Like who are you targeting since expires are not it? And I know that was your number one thing that you used to do. What's your structure?
So I use Vulcan 7, and I still use it. I still go through expires. What is expiring now are condos in Fulton County. So if you want to get into the condo market, now is your time to start hammering them, because that market is going to change at some point. Right now, nobody wants to buy condos, and I think it's because of COVID. Nobody wants that communal living. Everybody wants to be able to be separate and safe, whatever. The street racing, the drag racing, all the violence that's going on. Condos aren't selling, but that's a negative thought process. Change your mindset. If that's the market you want, now is the time to hear them. So I'm calling them like, I understand your condo didn't sell. The market is amazing. I'm so sorry your condo didn't sell, but do you know anybody else that needs to buy or sell a house? Do you know any single family residents? Do you have any friends anywhere else? Anywhere else but your condo.
Right.
So I'm calling those, and I'm calling old expires. The ones that are expiring 3, 4, 5 years ago, because I've been doing them so long and I've been using Vulcan for so long that my Vulcan goes back all the way to 2014. So I just had my marketing director, Treasure, I just had her create a postcard this morning, dump all of those in there. It was 1453, I think. 1453, yes, that's how many it was. 1,453 expires back then that have not been relisted. I told her we're gonna start hammering those. So I'm calling those, and they're gonna get something from me probably once a month. I am a big advocate of using the postal service and postcards. I've always done them, even when I started my really prospecting. I had the inkjet printer, and I used to print it on one side and flip them over and print them again and cut them with a paper cutter.
Mhm.
But now they, that was way before all of these other companies were doing that.
Right.
I've always been an advocate for postal service. It works.
Wow. Wow. You could do it. Yep.
Yeah, we do it in command. So what you can do in command is, look at him, Mr. Tech guy. Good job. Good plug. In command, my assistant, what I farm is my children's school district. I got last month, 2 months ago, I got Woman of the Year from my kids' elementary school, but my kids haven't been in elementary school in 10 years. My youngest isn't going to be a senior, but I'm very active. So you take that school district, I put the school address, and you do your little criteria, and that's what I farm as a regular basis. I want to own that school district. Perception is everything. I'm always posting on social media what's going on in those 3 schools. They're all Woodland. Everyone thinks I sell all the houses in Woodland. There were 82 homes that have sold in the last 12 months in Woodland School District. Guess how many I sold? Take a guess.
10.
2.
Okay.
I sold 2, but everybody thinks Sherri Pettus sells all the houses in Woodland because I'm always posting. This is what's for sale. This is what, who needs a 3-bedroom in Woodland. I go read to the kids. I do career day.
You did a scholarship for $500 recently too.
Oh, no, it was 30,000.
30,000?
It was 30,000. Get it right. It was 30 grand.
Wow.
So what I do is every closing I have, I put up 10%. That is my tithe, but I don't go to church that often. So I set up a nonprofit, and my MCA on my DA, it says whatever 10% of my commission is, that check goes to my foundation. So when I have my DA, I get 2 checks, one to my business and one to my foundation. And that 10% goes into that nonprofit at Heritage, because they don't charge for a nonprofit. And I'll just be very honest, my GCI was like a little bit over 400,000, I think like 430 last year. So I gave away about 12,000 already, but we had 30,000 left over. So just last week, we did a scholarship for my kids' high school. I'm
just trying to see where I get 500 from. Did you do something for $500 recently?
Cares for Kids.
Maybe that was it. I saw something, but go ahead. I saw the Woodland
like,
thing too. I didn't see the number though.
30
So
grand.
look, we're gonna get on that marketing, because I should be remembering 30. How about that?
So,
Go ahead.
So we did a scholarship. We do it every year. The first year I was able to give away 4,500. The second year I was able to give away 6,000. But the third year, my business jumped so much that I was able to give away $40-something thousand in a year. So that 30,000, 3 kids got awarded. You had to write a 500-word essay on, maybe that's the week.
That's the vibe. I'm like, it's gonna kill me, because I know I saw Woodland and 500. You know how you scroll out.
Okay, that's what it came.
You still gotta get on that marketing person, because she was supposed to make me stop the straw. 30,000 would have made me stop the straw.
So, and the reason why, when we did the advertisement, I didn't know how much I was gonna have.
So
I
it was
knew,
just really,
right,
this was the criteria.
right,
I
this
get
is
it.
the
I'm just
criteria. I
joking.
knew I was somewhere between 20,000 and 30,000, and I really wanted to give away 50 grand. So we had the kids write a 500, that's where it came from, a 500-word essay in a 3-minute video. The essay was, what would your degree do to help your community? And the video was just about who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And we had, dozens of kids, and 3 kids got $10,000 each. And we wrote cashier checks to the school. because I didn't want to give it to the parents because, you know, the parents might spend it on something. So I'm like, the criteria is you got to already be enrolled and, you know, I need your student ID number, the school you going to, and the address. And that's who we made the cashier checks out. And 3 kids got 10 grand. And that was, I'm gonna tell you, Bold, I've attended Bold 9 times. And so my very first, I believe in it. I know it sounds corny. Nobody makes me say this. You know, I was the first one like, I ain't paying $800 for the class again.
Right.
But I've done it 9 times. Every year I've taken Bold. And my very first Bold, you know how they have y'all write that letter to yourself and you get it the following year? My very first Bold was, one of the items in the letter was I wanted to create a scholarship foundation because college saved my life. If I didn't, Rob knows my story. If I didn't go to college, man, I'd be somewhere in Boston, probably high with about 4 or 5 kids in the corner somewhere.
Man, I love that part of it.
He like that real talk.
Yeah, and I didn't know the 30,000, 100%, because it may be 500, well, no, while now because of the number of the essay. However, I see a lot of agents that give 5,000, 1,000, or whatever, right? Which is great. Don't get me wrong.
I started giving like
But
$20.
exactly. Any little bit, every little bit helps, right? But what $30,000 can do, and not only for the families that she's able to gift this through the students, but also think about how proud
It's so
she
dope, y'all,
sounds.
be able to give
How
some
dope
kids.
that, like, I'm getting goosebumps because I know her so well. I feel like I just gave 30,000. Look, yeah, my girl gave you 30,000. I feel like that right now. So instead of, and that's what I'm saying, we have some people in the world, you know, in this market center with big hearts, right? And they'll give their last, but their last is $20, $50. But you have the opportunity to create a big enough business to give away more. Does that make sense? Like the more you make, the more you're able to give, the better, the bigger the impact. I just don't want to miss that moment.
I want to
Sherri.
be able to pay for kids to go to school for 4 years. Like if I could give 4 or 5 scholarships at a time, because again, man, I'm telling you, if I didn't go to college and my mama made me go,
So you know the impact.
can I tell you what my mother said? Make me go to college?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I was in high school, I was in 11th grade, and I came back. I was like, I'm going to the Air Force. My mom was like, you are not going to the military. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get a job and I'm helping pay bills. My mom was like, no, you're going to college. I was like, Mom, I don't want to go to college. My mom got in my face and she said, I'm gonna whisper to you. They can't hear. My mom said, you wish you had a win.
Yeah, mute that.
Y'all couldn't hear that.
Her mother gave her an offer she couldn't refuse.
Right, an offer I
We'll just
couldn't
say that.
refuse, and she kind of did it in that, you know,
Right.
that Tony Montana soprano voice.
Right.
So that was a goal for me to send kids to college, and my anticipation next year is that I easily, let's see, if I do 30 million, not if, when I do 30 million, how much GCI is that? 900,000? So I need to do 33 to do $1 million. I do $1 million, I will give away $100,000.
Wow. Yeah, that's the 10%. You don't even have to think about it. It's
And
right
I don't
there.
even miss that money anymore. I don't even see it. It doesn't even factor into my world.
You know why? Because you've set it up in such a way that you never see it. You see it, but you don't see it. It ain't yours.
And right, I don't even count it. And it allows me to do things like there was a young lady in our office who I knew was struggling. She had some issues with her soon to be ex-husband. She didn't have no money for Christmas. And I was able to give her like a little bit over $1,000. It's because that money, I do what I want with it, but I'm not taking it out of that account to go buy shoes.
Right.
That money is, you know, I know someone whose husband had a heart attack and suddenly passed away right before Christmas. And when she went to go find a life insurance policy, it had lapsed.
Yeah.
So now she's not getting this money. Her kids don't have no money for Christmas because all her husband's money's tied up.
Right.
I was able to go to that account. I pulled out $3 grand. She got 3 kids. I gave each kid $1,000 for Christmas. I don't even miss that money.
I love that. And so you guys get the picture about the giving back and things of that nature. And just remember one thing Sherri said, this all came from that bold,
That very first
but
bold,
the
the
first
very
bold
first
experience, the
bold.
letter.
Mhm.
So, and people always say, Keller Williams, y'all talk about this. And I say, with Keller Williams, it's about who you become. This is who she is now. Now you see her why and her purpose and to give away 100,000 when you have probably 80% of the agents striving to make 100,000. She's on the way to giving away.
It's so dope. I didn't even think about it like that. Because my very first bold, I remember putting my GCI. I wanted to be 100 grand.
I hear you.
Sometimes I make 100 grand in a month.
If I had $1 for every time I heard when I asked someone, "What's your goal?" 100,000. Nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong at all. I love that they're striving for that. But if I had $1 for every time an agent said that's their goal, I'd have 100,000. So anyway, all right. Thanks for sharing that part, Sherri. So let's jump back into the business. What has been your biggest mistakes, lessons learned, things you'll never do again?
Being
down
too
that
mean.
road?
Being too mean.
Tell me about that. Tell me more about that. What does that mean?
I'm a little rough. My goal is to be in this business to, not only make money, but to build relationships.
Right.
And I worked at a company
Mhm.
for 10 years before I joined Keller Williams, and they had the worst set of integrity, the worst set of values. I am never going to do to you what I don't want you to do to me. I've worked too hard in this business to build my reputation and my level of integrity. I'm not going to step on nobody's toes. I might hurt your feelings, but what I'm going to say is probably very fair and warranted. And sometimes people have a problem with that. So I've had to work on my filter because I don't have one a lot of times. And I am that chick. Like if you cross me, oh, it's a wrap.
Yeah, it's on, right?
It's a wrap. Don't call me talking about you want to show my listing. It's a wrap.
Yeah.
So I work in this, I'm working on it. I'm trying to be nice. I told you I'm trying to be
Well,
nice.
she says she's working on
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
So-
So for me, it was not coming from contribution has turned my world around. It has literally turned my world around because I grew up a certain way. I can get real gully.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It's taken me years not to behave that way in the professional aspect
Right.
versus the way I grew up.
And I went over this the other day. I think Monday I went through the 6 personal perspectives. What I hear Sherri saying is she went from E to P with her business and her purpose in her business. Because entrepreneurially, she could sell a lot of homes and all of that, but until she fixed the way that she handled people or communicated or her mindset around that, now you're on purpose. Because you started that off, Sherri, by saying, I'm more conscious of not being so mean. That means you have a purpose. And that purpose is what you stated was to be in business for a very long time.
Yeah,
And you have to have certain relationships.
And a lot of agents don't want to approach me because they think, number one, because the amount of business that I do, that I'm unapproachable. And I'm not. I just work, I'm very blunt.
Yeah.
And I don't like all that hemming and hollering. My D is all
Off
the way
chain.
to the top.
Yeah.
The only thing that the box didn't check was egotistic. And I'm like, really? Because I am a little egotistical. I was surprised that that box wasn't checked. So I need bullet points. I just want to move through things a little bit quicker. And Keller Williams and the folks that I have been around have helped me to kind of work on my filter, reel in that aggression a little bit, and think about what I say and how I say it more purposefully. The broker that I was with prior to this for 10 years was very challenging. And I never thought about the whole past clients, staying in touch with your clients, and that it was all about get that close and get to the next one, get that close and then get to the next one. We were never taught about building relationships. And I hear a lot of agents say, oh, you drank the Keller Williams Kool-Aid. I drank it, paint my nails in it, dyed my hair in it, took a shower in it. You know, a lot of people think it's so corny, but I came into Keller Williams 9 years ago with 3 transactions on the table. And I worked from sun up to sundown until my 8-year-old said to me, well, she's 20, she's almost 20 now. She was 8 years old and she said, you care more about your closings than you do me. And I went in my room and I cried.
3 clothes.
Right. And I went in my room and I cried and I was like, what can I do differently? And that's when, that was right at the same time I joined Keller Williams, and I figured out, not by myself, Deb Nardi was a huge part. There was a lot of folks that I met. I raised my hand and said, can I take you out to lunch? And they poured into me.
Yeah, because I ain't know. She used to walk right up on me, and if she see me in a train or cares for kids, anything, she was coming and posing those questions. Coachable. That's one of the things that it talks about being coachable.
I'm a huge cheerleader for MAPS coaching. I'm in mastery coaching. I pay that $1,000 a month all day. If they needed me to pay $12,000 up front, I would do it. That's how much I am a cheerleader. MAPS coaching took me from 3 million to 15 million in maybe 3.5, 4 years, still working the same hours that I work, and it helped me build a team. When I have MAPS coaching, I have 1 assistant, no buyer's agent, and I was doing about 3.5 million.
Wow. And now you're on your way to 33 this year. So let's talk about, no, that's what you're calling. I mean,
that's what Bridget
said. But no, so that's coming off of a pandemic year and even going into 2020. Let's talk about that a little bit, because you excel. What do you remember what you did in 19 before the 15 million? What was your
10.8?
So your business increased by 50% during a pandemic. What was your mindset like going into the pandemic?
You know what sticks out like a giant light bulb was when Brian Fair and Jason Bonds was having those videos at the beginning of the pandemic. They were having them like what, once a week?
Every Friday,
once a week. And Brian Fair said, this is the time that you paddle. Y'all need to paddle. That's all I mean, I heard some things, but a year later, that is what stuck out when Brian Fair said, y'all need to be paddling. You need to be paddling. And I paddled my butt off.
Thank you.
I paddled my butt off.
Can you explain to them what you mean by paddle? Because they may not saw that.
So
the circle.
It was, it was care calls. Calling.
No, just explain what Brian said about paddle.
Oh, so he was saying, like, he's like, if you're, and he referenced it to kind of like kayaking or whatever.
Yeah,
exactly. So I'm not paddling anywhere, but that could connect it for me. Right. You paddle, and at some point that wave is going to come. But if you just been sitting there chilling, waiting for the wave to come, it's going to come and you just going to fall off to the side. But if you've been paddling and you've been calling your database and you've been mailing and you've been lead generating, you've been Facebooking and Instagramming and you're doing all of that. Can I get an amen? It's going to work. It's going to work.
I like it. So so you dove into your database.
I did the D2, D2. I did that because we were quarantined, and I don't know about y'all. I loved being quarantined because I knew where all 3 of my kids were every day of the minute for 2 weeks. My kids got along, and I got to make a ton of phone calls. And I had COVID, y'all, last year also. So the pandemic was my best year yet. And it was a lot of work, but I made a lot of money. I built a lot of relationships. We had an agent in office. He left, but he said, oh, 2020 just went my year. I got divorced. I got COVID. I was like, me too. I got divorced and got COVID. Right. Me too. Right. And then he just looked at me and he couldn't say nothing.
Mindset. That's what I'm hearing. You went into this with a whole nother mindset, and you didn't shy away from training and being on that Facebook on Fridays. You seek information till something stuck. And that helped change your perspective and mindset. So
it did. I feel like after COVID, there is no excuse why anybody can sell real estate if you are that right person for real estate and you have the right training and mindset.
Wow, love it. Two more questions and then
Okay.
I'm gonna open it up. So, Zoom people, get your questions ready for the chat. You can start typing them now. And Casey will pose those. And then the room, please think about your questions that you may have of anything that Sherri shared. But I got two more. What's your vision for your business over the next 2 to 3 years? I know this year, 33 million, but over the next 2 to 3 years, where do you see your business and what's your business? What's your vision for that? Like, what's next?
Initially considered building a team downtown. I was thinking about I was thinking about purchasing a condo, because I went to Pensacola. I have a past client. She was an expired listing. We became friends. She got a smoking condo in Pensacola. I'm going in next week. And so I was like, I think I want a condo too. And I looked at them, decided, I don't know if I really want a condo. I don't know if I really want to live downtown. So on my board also is, I've been asked, would I consider possibly do I have any aspirations to be a bold coach or MAPS coach? I love teaching. I love interacting with agents. I love agents asking me questions. Y'all already know I like talking about me. So I enjoy standing in front or just that interaction and helping, because when I joined KW, I went to every class for, they say in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, you go to 90 meetings in 90 days. I went to a class every opportunity I could get. And I raised my hand a lot to other agents who sold more real estate than me, who made more money. And I called all of them, and almost no one has ever told me no. And that included Bob Kalinsky, Kay Evans, Cheryl Sidoti,
Diana Kokoska. She knows everybody. Yeah, Mo, I know about that.
I got my date.
I know. Oh, you do now.
Going October 27th.
Oh my God. So can we share it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Sherri is actually going to be going to spend a few days at Mo Anderson's house in Oklahoma. All I have to say is ask not, have not. I'm telling you guys, talk to people.
Raise your hand. Yeah. Just keep raising your hand.
I've seen that definitely over the years. And it's funny, even, to hear you say going from that 3 million to 15 million in 3 years. One of our top agents, kind of almost the same numbers. I think it was like 3 to 12 million in 3 years, right? And last year she did 19. But one of the similarities that you guys both have that I see in both of you guys, when y'all are in a room with top producers, y'all do not leave that room, I don't know if it's on purpose or what, without inviting that person to lunch or reaching out or telling them to share what they're doing and ripping that off, duplicating it. Y'all have that in common. So I'm telling you guys, reach out to people that's teaching, that's doing something that you think you want to be doing or whatever, that's very interesting. Take them to lunch, reach out to them. People love to be dated, man. I'm telling you, somebody come up here and they talk and they, just leave and they're like, oh, okay, did they get it or did they not? But think about if one of you guys said, what you did for us was amazing and I want to treat you to lunch or I want to get some time.
They're trying to get y'all take me out to eat.
Glass of wine or whatever. Like, no, I'm just kidding. But no, I didn't want to miss that point. But I've seen that. So many people that are enriched in this culture within Keller Williams that you can truly learn so much more from than when they're just sitting in the front of the room. I'm telling you. The best. That's why family reunion and mega camp and all that stuff is so important. Yeah, you can watch the stuff on Zoom or you can go, you'll hear, you can watch the recordings or whatever. But what you don't get is the interaction and the real conversations behind the scenes with the people who are actually doing it, just knowing their story and where you're able to share. Because what you're not hearing is Sherri has some crazy days, I'm sure. But if y'all are sitting there just talking and you bring up your crazy day, she's like, oh yeah, I just had one of those last week, but this is how you do. You're not going to get a lot of that right here. It's just not enough time. So I'm challenging you guys to when you get people that you're intrigued by, reach out to them, especially in this company. They're gonna share.
And for me, it doesn't have to be someone that you met. It doesn't have to be someone that you were in the same
Yeah,
room.
that's
I
true.
went to family reunion. Justin Seavey was on one of the
My
panels.
dude.
And I don't know if
love
y'all
Justin.
know him, but he sell a lot of houses. He has a mega gigantic, they do like what, 300,
Yeah.
you know, one of them
Yeah.
teams. And he was on the panel. And coming back, we were in Anaheim and he was on the elevator and I saw him and I was like, oh, you was up on the panel. I was like, hey, my name's Sherri Pettus, and that was it. I go home, I send him a handwritten note card. Hey, Justin Seavey, it was so nice to see you in the elevator in Anaheim. Remember we spoke, can I take you out to lunch? He's the one that told me I should have 3 or 4 buyer's agents. We went out to lunch. Same thing, Bob Kalinsky. And what I do is I bring my 25-year-old with me. I'm sitting in a class the other day and Nikki Bonds is teaching a class and Nikki Bonds referenced something my kid did. And I'm like, how Nikki Bonds know Treasure's name? She shows up, she pays attention, she raises her hand. I got a referral last week from an agent because I called Deb and said, hey, who's in your office? And this was a year ago. Who's in your office that's doing 20 million? I want to do 20 million. That's going to be my goal next year. I thought it was going to be my goal this year. And Deb said, gave me a name and I called that agent. Treasurer and I drove up there. We had lunch. And a month ago, this agent calls me and says, hey, I got a referral for you. So-and-so's coming in from out of town. Take those people out to lunch. Look at, what's your goal for this year? 12 million. 12 million. Find somebody who's doing 15 and call them. Find somebody in a different office on the other side of town and just say, hey, Sherri Pettus said I should call you. I don't even know who you're gonna call, but just tell them, you know, I was in a class and somebody said that I should call you because you're doing this and this is what I want to do. And having those conversations and raising my hands is getting me to Mo Anderson's house. I cannot believe I'm going to stay at her house. And I'm teaching at one of her market centers.
Wow. So the other thing, the other part of this, and then we'll move on. I'll get my last question to open it up. The other part of this is when you do that, the highest respect and honor you can give that person who you met with and also to yourself is to take action on whatever you got out of it. Because I know tons of people. I love that. Yeah, because, and this is the thing, I've been in this seat 11 years, right? And everybody thinks, not everybody, but people look at, you know, me, if somebody's not super productive, but I could name 5 people that came here and did become super productive. The difference between those people and the ones who may not be or living their life, because it's not all about production, but having what they want. Everybody's goals are different. Maybe I should say it this way, people that are hitting their goals, right? There's people who say, you know, I want to do 10 million, 15 million, and they will go meet with some of the top people. They know all the top people. They've been mentored by some of the top people, and they still, you know, come back and do 1 million or 1.5 million or 3 million. Because they're not taking action on what they went there to get. I gave you what you wanted, and you went back into your old self. You know, and that will happen, but at some point you have to get out of that. And that's all. Your high D won't even allow you to do that. Because it's like ready, aim, shoot. I missed.
And it's
okay,
bad sometimes because
it
keeps me up at night.
All of them are bad. All of these numbers, no matter what you got, it's another component. But anyway, sorry guys, this is about you. All right, last question. What top 3 pieces of advice would you give someone who is newer in the business or a veteran, so either one, same advice, whose business needs a jump start to help them get them into production as soon as possible, especially right now in this market? What top 3 things you would tell somebody to do?
This market right now is all about listings.
Okay.
It is all about listings. I didn't even enjoy being a buyer's agent in a buyer's market. Never mind. Now I don't enjoy going to look at houses. That's not my thing. What I enjoy about this real estate is it allows me to make a lot of money and I can give a lot of money away and do stuff. And I get to hang out with amazing people and I get to travel and write it off. And what I really love to do is eat, drink, and talk. And I lead generate everywhere. I purposely bought a membership to the country club, the Eagles Landing Country Club, so I could socialize with those folks. And now when I walk into Eagles Landing Country Club, I promise you, there's at least 2 or 3 people that know my face, know I sell real estate. This is one little old man. He loved me. He tell everybody I'm the best little realtor. He don't know what I sell. You know, it gave me
Perception is reality.
right. And so I would say lead generate, y'all, everywhere you go. You cannot sell houses. You're not gonna make money if you are afraid to approach and have conversations with strangers. I have walked into Burger King and went, hello, excuse me, anybody know, anybody sell a house? And give all my cards out in Burger King. I do it at the bank, lead generate everywhere you go. In this market, I go door knocking. I would go door knocking because sellers are not aware that their houses are worth so much. There's a neighborhood that a friend of mine lives in. No, she has a rental house. And this is not pertaining to door knocking. However, I think I'm gonna have my buyer's agent go door knock this neighborhood. This neighborhood, 5 years ago, everything was selling for like 60, 70, 80, maybe 100. I called her last week and said, Kim, you still got that tenant? She's like, girl, I'm gonna get rid of that tenant. Kim, how much you wanna sell your house for? She said, Sherri, I owe $50,000. I just wanna walk away with 50. If you give me 100, I'll sell it. That house is worth 170. 170. She had no idea. You know what she did last week? That tenant got a 30-day notice. Okay. Yep. She had a certified letter sent to him. She went, me and the husband done already went over there and looked at the house. She putting them out. She is putting them out. Those neighborhoods look for those neighborhoods where they did terrible 3-4 years ago and go door knock. Who in here is a buyer's agent? So everybody pretty much, okay. Yeah. So so one of the deals that you lost, you all are losing deals right now, right? Everybody's losing deals, some form or another. Take that deal, go knock on that neighborhood and go, excuse me, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Yep. My buyer lost out on this deal. And we have multiple buyers who were trying to buy a house in your neighborhood. Would you sell your house? What's the price? My coach said, walk up to somebody and say, if you were to sell your house today and I showed up with a blank check, what number would I have to write in the memo that says, make me move? That's what they're teaching the MAPS coaching. That's what they're teaching all the coaches now. Knock on that door or send them a card, call them. What number would make you move? Right. So lead generate everywhere you go. So go to Burger King and yell out, and then door knock around some purpose, right? Whether they have a ton of equity in the home or find those neighborhoods that are like 5 or 7 years old where people have been living in there 7 to 10 years. They don't know. Door knocking. So one more. Give us one more. One more. What would I do to get more business? Door knocking, lead generate everywhere you go. I don't know. What would y'all do? DT2. DT2, that one. Sphere. Your sphere, start calling those past clients. So who was in the business 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago? So if you were, did you guys work with investors? Go through the tax records. Pull those tax records that are absentee owners that bought 5, 6, 7 years ago. I have an investor right now. He don't want to sell it, but he bought a house that I sold to him in 2014 for a short sale. He paid 60. That house is worth like 300 now. And he's just like, no, I don't want to sell it. I'm like, why not? Why not? Like, come on. It is an amazing time to go back, call your past clients, call your investors, or find those absentee owners who bought years ago, especially if they bought around 07, 8, 9, 10. Man, I wish I had money back then. Yeah. Because if that market kind of does that way again, I'm buying some stuff. Yep, 100%. So that's it for me. Unless, is there any question that I haven't asked you that I should? No. All right, cool.
Well, I got a question.
All right, cool. We're gonna go Philanda Shay, then Nana.
Okay. How does time block it was from the lead generation to the appointment. in a
Oh,
week.
Okay, so I did a 66-day challenge. Y'all, when I say I do the stuff that Keller Williams tells me to do, I just do it. I don't sit there and try
I
to.
love that.
I don't sit there and try. I ain't got time for all of that. If it works and you can show me that it works, I'm just going to do it. I'm not gonna redo it, rethink it, reconfigure, figure out how to make it work better. No, that's not me. So she told me to do a 66-day challenge. Okay, I'm gonna do a 66-day challenge, and I'm gonna get to the office every day before 8 o'clock. Now it's a habit. If I'm not in the office by 8, y'all, I'm panicking. Who am I getting in trouble with? Who am I getting in trouble? Right, who gonna tell on me? Who gonna dock my pay? It's a habit. So I believe in doing that. So I get to work at 8. I script practice with my buyer's agent at 8:15, almost every day except Mondays because he has to do something else. But we script practice from 8:15 to 8:30, 4 days a week, pretty much, very consistently. 8:30, my 2 assistants come in. We all talk for about 20, 30 minutes, and I squirrel about 10 times and talk about stuff that don't got nothing to do with real estate. 9 o'clock, 9:15, I'm on the phone. And I have a sign outside my door. So if you walk down the hall, you're gonna start to see, oh, this is Sherri Pettus's corner. I have 5 offices, and all of my offices have my logo outside of the door. I brand myself. My sign says, do not disturb. I am prospecting, lead generating, I'm making money. If you interrupt me, have $17 per minute cash. That's how much I charge. My coach figured it out. Based on my lead generating the way I work, I make about $1,000 an hour. So y'all owe me. No, I'm just playing. So
I'm sitting up here like, me.
So it's $17 a minute. That sign is turned around. My staff knows, don't come down there and knock on my door. They have my permission. The only one who can knock on my door is team leader, assistant team leader, OP. That's it. Don't text me, don't call me, don't ask me anything. My goal is to talk from 9:15 to about 11-ish, 11:30, and talk to 20 people. Do I talk to 20 people in those 2 hours? Almost never. Almost never. However, I got my little clicker, and when I walk out, I know, okay, I talked to 8 people, I talked to 12 people. I know that I have to talk to X amount of people. So car dealership is a perfect place to have those conversations. If you want to talk to 20 people real quick, next time you servicing your car, do you all sit on your phones and Facebook, or you looking at the TV? No, you know what I do? I get dressed up when I go to the car dealership. Why? Because there's pretty much all men. And when I walk in, they are going to pay attention when I walk in. So, yeah. Come on,
no, I get it.
Hell yeah, I'm gonna do that. So when I walk into the car dealership, I am smoking, looking like I'm about to buy a Porsche. It's Porsche, y'all. I thought it was Porsche. I was wrong. Anyway, but I lead generate. I go to every single one of them car salesmen. Say, you know, anybody need to buy a sell house? I give them a card. I give them a pen, and it paid off. One little kid, he looked like he was about 20 years old. He said, yeah, I got a house to sell. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, I'm getting divorced. I'm like, how old are you? He said, I'm 27. I sold his house. $195,000. That $5,800 I had to give him after it was over. I gave him tickets to my Falcons. I got him seats. But his commission paid for my season tickets that year. It was well worth me giving him seats for a weekend. For a game.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, I talk about real estate.
So with that being
Nah.
said, you talked about the postcards. What does that system look like? And I guess walk me through when you first started the postcards and then to now.
So I started with expireds. And when I come in the mornings and I do my lead generating, I have a clipboard, and my clipboard has name, address, email, note, source. And if I talk to someone on the phone, they automatically go on that clipboard and they go into my database called future listings. Future listings, I probably have 550 in that database, and they are 550 people that I've talked to over the last 5 or 6 years that still haven't sold their house, but they had their house on the market. So they get a handwritten note card. I am a big advocate of handwritten note cards. I go to Dollar General and I buy all of them, the whole rack of blank note cards and thank you. Last time I went, I bought 58 packs. I took them all off the shelves and we send those out because they're little, they're handwritten. You get it in the mail, you're gonna open it because it looks like an invitation. So I send that out. I also, every month, I send out to my database, the school district that we talked about through
Woodland.
Command, through Woodland, we put the school's address. Does everybody know how to do postcards in Command?
Yeah.
So you know how
Not
you,
properly.
so
If you
you,
don't, you will.
right, so you know, you can choose, you know, your criteria. I want it built in, lasso, choose all of that. And I do go by the MREA and I base it off, I do about, maybe about 8 to 9% of my GCI. And I use that for my marketing. So if I get a $10,000 check, I'm gonna spend about $1,000, but I might save it. I'm not gonna do it right then, but
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
save it at
It
the
goes in
end of.
that kitty.
Right, it goes in that kitty, exactly. And so we just sent out this morning, I also use Prospect Plus. So maybe you could help my assistant one day with, when I put my database into Command, it don't act right. So we use Prospect Plus. Command, we just use that circle area. So the postcards go out once a month. My MAPS coach gave me a schedule, a spreadsheet, and said, okay, every month, this is what you're gonna do for January, this is what you're gonna do, have your assistant create something. So she has almost all of that stuff already created. So when, you know, Memorial Day rolls around, that postcard is ready, we mail it, and it goes all over our social media, and it goes to that database of futures. So I use Command for one set of prospecting, and I use Prospect Plus for another.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who else? Nick?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm good. I think I'm, well, yeah. Thank you, Nick. Sorry. Anybody else? Question? Do we have any in the chat? I must have did a great job with my list of questions, Sherri. You did great. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Sherri,
AT.
for coming. Yes,
You're
I
welcome.
don't know, Sherri is a beast. I watched your Expired class online. I think you did maybe about a year ago, and it was amazing. And I just want to ask, you have such a rigid schedule, like the 66-day challenge got you in the habit of getting to the office. When you get there and you get that clipboard, is there any hesitation when you pick, or you just go? It ain't even no.
Oh, there's hesitation every day. I'm like, do I want a mimosa first? Do I want some
I'm gonna
Chick-fil-A?
repeat the question so they can
Okay.
hear it. So, Alicia asked, is there hesitation when she's in the office and it's time, when she grabbed that clipboard and it's time to start making those calls? What, is there any hesitation?
Every day.
And Sherri said,
Every day. And it's like, I don't even know why I have the hesitation, because I know it works. About 8 years ago, I decided I wanted to get divorced. And I knew that in order for me to do that, I had to be able to pay all my bills on my own. And you know what my MAPS coach said? And of course, this wasn't 8 years ago, it was a few years ago, but she said, I want you to think about all the issues that you have in life, all the things that keep you up at night, that you stress out about, what could fix them? And almost every single one of them was money. And when she connected those dots, that most of my damn problems could go away if I lead generated, I ain't really got no problems now. I'm divorced, pay all my bills. I don't need no child support. Me and him are cool. I can buy whatever I want. These expensive shoes that I got on, they hurt like hell right now. But I can buy 3 pair of them if I want. They do hurt though.
she did that.
They hurt. But yeah, I do have that. Thank you. That was a good
That was
question.
good.
I do have a hesitation, and it's normal. As much success that I've had with lead generating and making phone calls, I do hesitate every day because it's not fun getting rejected. I have people who hang up on me, they say some stuff, and I laugh now. Because what I say is, oh, you better be lucky you didn't get me about 3 years ago or 4 years ago, because my response would have been a lot different. Yes, I hesitate, but just do it. It works.
And that's, yeah, great question. And great, real candid answer, because I know it's tough. Don't let anybody ever tell you it's not, even for the ones who do a great job at it. And that's why so many people are not consistent at it, because they don't fight through that one urge not to do it. And Sherri had a why. She had all these problems that, not all these problems, her life wasn't wrecked, but
I had a few of them.
yeah, but she had problems that she discovered, like she said, that money can fix. And how did she get money? Lead generate. So her problems was bigger than that no on the other end of that phone. And what is that? That's a big why. Remember we said her why now is giving that $100 or paying somebody for several 4-year scholarships, right? That wasn't her why back then. Her why was just to make money to make these problems go away.
I used to
Right?
wake up in the
So
middle of the
always
night.
have a why. It doesn't matter how big, how small, just have a why that's big enough though, that you're gonna make that call or write them handwritten notes or go door knocking. Sherri, thank you so much. This is cool. Man, I might go over there today, baby, because we don't get to get in the room no more. And it's the second class today.
So I do share that,
Yes, go ahead.
on regional level, they want y'all to start coming to classes. They considering cutting off, I mean, they're not gonna tell you not to do it.
Yeah,
But to kind
they're
of
not. Yeah,
start, I'm in that leadership bullpen,
I know.
and they really want to encourage that we have more activity, one-on-one.
One-on-one, in
And
person,
so I'm gonna start
absolutely.
teaching classes again, and I
Yep.
think I may say no recording.
Yeah, we'll bring it
Possibly.
on. So thanks. So we got one of the last recordings. Yes, we got it. Nah, but anyway, seriously, she's so right. That's why we're doing the same thing here, guys. It's coming all the way down, to be honest. So, we won't get everybody, but you know how it goes. All right.
The ones who
Cool.
want it, they'll show
They'll
up.
show up, and which is cool. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Out there. Thank you.